He said, when I send out a bid, I put this awesome picture of the partners on the bottom and say, we would love to earn your business. And he said he's gotten so much feedback from that.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Win the Hour, Win the Day. I am your host, Chris Ward. And today we have Tanya Smith in the house. And Tanya is going to talk to us under the umbrella of branding, but we're going to dive into, I don't want to say photography, Tanya. We're talking about using your picture and your branding photography. Is that what you call it?
Yeah. I feel like photography is a huge asset to your brand that people aren't using effectively or, wisely. And I'd love to help people change that.
Well, here's the thing, just so we get it up front. I am what I would call myself an extremely flawed human being. So I have there's some things I have no understanding or patience for. So I'm going to tell you all my secrets. I'm going to tell you guys everything. Here's the deal. I want to highlight people who have been on my show as much as humanly possible in every way I can. So we used to have it that the cover would be a picture of me and them. And I'm telling you, Tanya, we had to stop that because high end, what I would seem to be successful people, professionals that have been in business a while, they would send me these crazy low digitized pictures of them in their backyard. And with the cell phone, you can do a full-on photo shoot with a professional or yourself with a phone. It's not a matter of, I don't have a camera or anything anymore. Right. Mm-hmm. And we just had to stop doing it because I can't think of a better word. I'm just going to say it. The crap they sent us was unbelievable and just became an obstacle. So now there's just me on the cover. So I am shocked that we need to have this conversation, but and I said that to you in the beginning, we were talking, I'm like, all right, we can have this conversation, but we need to tell people that? But apparently we do, because I experience it firsthand all the time to this point that we had to change. And I was really sad about changing because I really wanted people to be, I know I like being on the cover of somebody else's podcast. Right. It really adds validity there. So, you're a better person than me. Start with me. What are people thinking? How is this still happening?
Yeah, it's a huge problem. I mean, I started as a graphic designer and same thing. People are like, we're doing this billboard. It's costing thousands of dollars. Here's our crappy picture we took in a lobby, with horrible lighting. And I'm like, you're spending all this money on this ad and this photo is not doing you any favors. So apparently it is something people still don't get. And I've through the years seen the obstacles, and a lot of them are people are afraid to get their picture taken or which is ironic because they're like, I don't like the way I look in photos, but I'm going to send you this terrible photo. If you come to a professional, they're going to help you look your absolute best that you can, right? With good lighting and posing and, the higher resolution. So it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. Lighting is your friend. Right? The whole world can change by lighting. And the other thing I would say to you as well is, to me, that's a bad excuse, because it's almost like, what if I said to you, Tanya, listen, I got this potential client for you and they are really up your alley. I think this would be a really good contact for you. I've actually set up a meeting for you Friday at 10 a.m. Well, you wouldn't say, I don't like how I look, so I'm not going to go.
I know. It's so silly. It's like this irrational fear, I guess. But then I think another one is they just don't see the importance or the value. If someone comes to me and they have a marketing firm or a marketing department, they understand it. They're like, we need better photos. And oftentimes the owner will be like, oh, that's too expensive. We're not going to spend our marketing money on photos, which is so backwards, right? 90% of your ads or whatever is the photo. So that should be the highest priority. And you can use them in a million different ways. In fact, I created a download for everybody from this call, 100 ways you can use photos to build your business.
I'm pretty creative, but I'd like to see 100. I use them everywhere, but if you made a download with 100, I came up with 100. Okay, then sign me up, Buttercup, because I'm like, I could give you a good 25, but I think I'd be pushing it at 100. And the thing is, listen, people, I'll tell you tips that I know just from a lot of years of experience. First of all, wear neutral colors. Logos, stripes, patterns are not your friend because they draw the eye away from your face. That's what fashion is about, changing in distraction and whatever. Right. So, but also when you wear neutral colors and your clothes are the backdrop, even if they're bright colors, I now wear a lot of bright colors. That's fine. But still, then it's a nice clean backdrop. Your top, it's not like got ribbons and bows and
Right.
lines and stripes and logos. And you can use those pictures, like you could easily get away with 2 years of using those pictures
Yes.
and using them everywhere.
Yeah.
But then that leads to the next thing where people, I'm like, that picture, I met you when I first started my business 12 years ago, you had that picture and you should probably update that now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's especially if your hair changed, if you wear glasses now or don't wear glasses anymore, those or we age, right? You want to look like you are in real life in your picture, but your best elevated.
And even if you have I'm so sorry. Go ahead. My God, I'm horrible today. I'm sorry. I'm so passionate about this and just keep talking over you. I'm usually not this bad. Okay. I promise you it's bad, but not this bad. Okay. Go ahead. My apologies.
Oh, no, I think I was done. I hate it when I see someone's profession, even if they got a professional picture on their profile and you meet them online, then you meet them in your real life. And I'm like, I would not have recognized you on the street based on your picture. Right. So you want it to be professional, but also look like you.
That I know. I remember one time this is a long time ago, and he handed me his business card and his picture was on it. Good on him. That's great. And then I said, I don't think this, and I'm honest, I will tell people because I'm really, truly trying to help, right? I really care. And I said, I don't think this picture does you justice. And he says, yeah, they wouldn't let me smile. And I said, who's they? And he said, the passport people. So he used his passport picture on his business card. I'm like, oh my gosh, like, come on, what's up?
Yeah. So I guess my, first tip would be like, invest in some photography, even if it's just one headshot, right? You get a quick photo. Although I feel like in order to get the best, look for you, going and having an actual session where you're trying different outfits, the photographer gets to know you, you can relax. So you can get the best expression and pose and that kind of thing for you. It's worth the investment. Like you said, I do more extensive branding shoots where we create a library of images for people. And I have clients who have used their photos for 3 years. Like it's, and everywhere, the value per use is huge for those photos. So
you really can change the game, whether it's your website, your brochure, or LinkedIn or anything, you can make yourself go up like in value of what you deem to be worth. Like I've had people even back in the day when it was much newer and with my pictures, because they were professionally done. And people would say to me, well, we'd really like to hire you. We're not sure we can afford you. And I was like, listen, you can afford me, right? Because I was really new, but they thought because they look so polished, right? And they're like, oh, we can't wait to afford you. Great. Excellent. So what is it you think you can't afford? Because I can make that price happen, right? So I really, truly believe, okay, so if we haven't, I can't stress this enough, people, and listen, if you're not sure, send it to Tanya or even me, and I'll help you out and say, yeah, you need a new picture. But I think if you have to ask, you need one. And I do think there's so much more important than you possibly understand. Okay. So give us some ideas of some of these crazy places you think we can put pictures 100 places.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's the obvious social media profiles, right? And your website, your business cards, but then, I mean, the sky's the limit, right? There's billboards, print ads, mail campaigns, like those things aren't dead. In fact, they're kind of becoming more of a novelty, like, ooh, I got a thing in the mail, that kind of thing.
One of my mentors, he's very big on direct mail marketing. And right today, actually, I'm working on a 5-page speaker brochure that everybody else emails. But he says, listen, the best part, Chris, is nobody else is in their mailbox. So this looks better when it's printed in color, and they're going to keep it in a email box. They just either don't open it or file it till later, but now it sits on their desk. So absolutely. And of course, that's littered with high-end pictures of myself, which you can make yourself look so much better than you actually look. But anyhow,
I know. Yeah. So then, I mean, if you're writing a book cover or the book jacket, even, if you're printing a product for sale or to give as swag or, anything like that. I really racked my brain to come up with 100 things.
Well, because here's the thing. You know what? I have this little spreadsheet that we call it Chris's Network. And I learned a long time ago, the hard way, is that I would make wonderful connections with people like you. And then, you and I, it's like having a sort of 5 dates. We're talking to each other today. It's like, oh, we have a really good time. And then I see you for a few weeks on social media. And then I interview a bunch of other people and you get moved down the feed. Right. And so what I realized was I was rotating relationships instead of growing my network or maintaining them. And I thought, this is a bad plan. And I lost contact with people that were really important to me in the business world, but I just didn't keep on top of them. So now we have this little spreadsheet we call Chris's Network. So I make sure to go in once a month or reach out to someone or send a video or whatever. But I learned really quickly, sometimes I look at someone's name, I'm like, who are they? But in this spreadsheet, I have the name first column, the picture of them second column.
Oh, that's so smart.
And the point I'm trying to drive home is that you remember faces so much more than you remember names. Right. I don't care who you are. Because funny story, we had 2 people that were actually on my show and they were similar in background. They both had red hair and they were both dynamic individuals. And one had said to me, I don't think I've told this story on the show. One had said to me, she was talking about weighted blankets. Because if you people can imagine, I'm a high energy and that sounds great, but that's not so great when you try to go to sleep at night. So she said, oh, it was a game changer and whatever. I'm like, I've tried everything, whatever. But anyhow, I'm like, okay, so I tried this weighted blanket. So I sent her an email and I said, this has changed my life. I have tried everything. I love this more than words can say. You are my new best friend. This is awesome. I went on and on. So I get the email back and she said, Chris, I am so happy for you. I have no idea what you're talking about. I did not recommend this weighted blanket, but I'm glad that you're sleeping better. So I had got them mixed up because they were very similar. And I'm like, well, this is dumb. So now I have a little spreadsheet. I see their face. I go, oh yeah, she's the one that gave this tip. She's the one that I know about this because I know their faces. So your image really is everything, which nails home what you're saying is it should be out there everywhere because you're lucky if people remember your name, but if they remember your face, that's so powerful. And I'm so sorry you're on my show, but I'm all excited about this. Let me say this one last thing. I'll let you talk. I was just reading this other book on sales and he was talking about the whole misnomer of putting your picture there all the time. And he's saying, because people feel there's a familiarity to you when they meet you, they're already in the relationship because there's such psychology behind the impact that they've seen your face a number of times. And that's why, again, it's so powerful. So there you go. You take the rest of the show. I'm not going to ask you questions.
And also thinking about on your social media profiles, especially, can we see your face? Like we're looking at our tiny little phones and people have this like full body picture. And I'm like, I can't see who this person is. So you want your profile to be like full of your face. That's one thing that annoys me all the time. But going back to some creative ways to use your pictures, I had one client. I live in Spokane, Washington, which is kind of, it's a medium-sized city, but kind of has a reputation of being kind of Hickville. Okay. And I had this engineering firm and they said, we're very capable, but we're sending out bids and losing them to Seattle, even to local, entities. And so they wanted to look more posh and modern. And so we did a photo shoot. They had this gorgeous office that had been newly renovated. And with the balcony of the backdrop was all the big buildings in Spokane. And so we took this amazing group photo of the partners and their website looked amazing because of the photos. They looked really high end and a metropolitan. That's what they wanted. So, but I was surprised after, because the website looked amazing. He said, when I send out a bid, I put this awesome picture of the partners on the bottom and say, we would love to earn your business. And he said he's gotten so much feedback from that, just look how amazing we are.
Because you look grown up. It's a difference between when you're 19 and you go for a job, and your mother might say, you dress up, you're going to an interview. Like, oh mom, I might even be going to an interview to be a garbage collector. It doesn't matter. You have to show up, you have to show up ready for a job interview, looking prepared. And that's the thing is now they've pulled back the curtain and they look like, oh, these people look professional.
Right. Yeah. And I just thought that was, it seems like a no-brainer, but a creative way to use your photo just in your email.
Yeah.
And it just communicated visually so many things about them that would counteract that the prejudice thought that people might have because of where they were located.
Yeah, that's a double thing you're talking about. First of all, you don't look professional until you tell somebody and show somebody you are. And secondly, then the area was a liability. Also, I don't know if it showed up here in this call, but I have an image on my Zoom while you're waiting.
Oh, sure.
And Yeah. And a lot of people don't notice that. It's just,
Mhm.
I have one, like I'm bending over a desk saying, hey, I'll be right with you. And it looks very inviting. So there's little things like that, that once you put up, it's done. I get a lot of comments about that and I
Yeah,
totally forget it because I don't ever see it again.
right,
It's just in
right.
my Zoom profile. But while people are waiting, you can personalize your little message saying, hey, I'm just finishing up and be right with you. And then I've got this warm, busy looking picture of me cleaning up a desk, and it's like, oh, she'll be right here. Right. So
Yeah,
it really does. It's kind of like your virtual handshake, I would say.
right. Or just the virtual you, right? It's your
Yeah. Yeah.
avatar.
You're right.
We're
Mm,
connecting virtually everywhere. A lot of businesses don't have a storefront anymore. Your
right.
pictures are your storefront. And yeah, like I said, they are you online. So how are you showing up uh, to the world in that way? That's, the question you want to ask yourself regarding your photos.
Okay. So please, for the love that all is pure in this world, please understand you need proper slash professional images. It's an investment. It's almost better like back in the day when you were having to go out and do physical appointments. Think about the clothes you needed to buy.
Mhm.
Now you buy one outfit and two,
Right.
and you take a bunch of pictures and you get a lot of usage out of that. So
Mhm.
it's really so economical, that investment to get
Right,
professional
right.
shots. So economical. So
Yeah.
tell us some other mistakes you think, Tanya, that people are overlooking, either the psychology of it or what they're not doing with it. Like I can't, you need to shut me up because I go
Right.
crazy on this. I just don't understand. I don't
Yeah.
understand how people don't understand this.
Yeah. Well, I think one thing maybe people put it off because they don't know who to hire, right? That could be another thing.
Yeah.
Or they got professional pictures and they didn't like them, you know?
Oh, okay.
And so some mistakes I see there are they use their wedding photographer or their
Oh,
brother-in-law or something, who
right.
doesn't specialize in photos for marketing and branding. So that's something to
Right.
look for when you're shopping, right? Maybe if there's professionals in your area that have great photos, you could ask them, hey, who did your photos? When you go look at
Yes.
their portfolio, look and see, like, is there consistency? Do they specialize in this type of photography? Because if you're only seeing babies and weddings, you know, there's a high chance they don't know how to deal with
Yeah,
photography and
because
marketing.
the difference there is what I always say is a business portrait. Everybody wants to, like, it's hard to look spontaneous and fun by yourself. And
Mhm,
you're trying to be
mhm.
a person and a professional at the same time, right? Whereas
Yeah.
family portraits and weddings and hold the cute baby, there's something to do
Mhm.
where there's not in a business portrait. So it really truly is important. Like that, it really is a different type of photography.
Right.
And you are usually dealing with people over 25. So
Mhm.
I always say everybody wants to be taller, thinner, younger, whatever. And
Right.
we all walk into the room with our, things we don't want to show off, right?
Mhm.
So you want a photographer that, can manage that. And, just holding the camera is a wedding photographer is not a baby photographer, is not
Right.
a business portrait
Yeah.
photographer.
Yeah. So find someone who specializes, and then, especially if you're doing more than just a headshot, well, even a headshot, you need to go in with, or at least have a photographer that's going to prompt you into, how do you want to be perceived in these photos? Do you want to be
Right.
fun? Do you want to be serious? What kind of vibe do you want to put out there? And then, like, for my clients, if we're doing that whole library of photos, we have a planning meeting in advance, and I go through, it's kind of like
Mm-hmm.
developing a brand. I'm asking them
Yeah.
all these questions about who their audience is and what they offer, and then we plan out a shot list. So I see that is something missing sometimes too.
Mm-hmm.
The photographer doesn't help with that part, and then they show up and like, okay, what are we going to shoot today? And then they aren't prepared, right? And that's often why they don't turn out well, the photos. So
Yeah.
that's something to ask for. Do you help me plan the shoot? What does that entail?
Yeah,
So,
because I know too, there's fashion and photography, meaning like that banker look that was heavy, say 10, 15 years ago is not the thing anymore. Do we
mhm,
all need
mhm,
headshots? Yes. You need a headshot to have it in you need to have one in your toolbox, but it is not the primary thing anymore.
mhm,
I would say it's probably an 80-20 ratio, where before it used to be like, oh, you just need a headshot, right?
right.
So you don't need that. And then also too, it does make a big difference. Like I know when I was younger, if I said, oh, I'm getting this wild haircut, to me, it meant cutting my bangs. And to my sister, it meant blue hair. Like to me, you know
Right.
what I mean? She's like,
Yeah.
She could have blue and purple hair, and that was like being creative. And I was like, did you see my bangs? I cut them. Like they're shorter than they were. They're a whole inch shorter. Look at me, I'm wild, right? So you can't be showing up there and saying, I want to look fun. Well, what does fun mean, to you? So I think that's really important, is understanding that really the photographer is supposed to be the creative director and work with you for the message you want to portray. It's not a matter of slapping you up against a wall like your driver's license picture.
Right. Yeah, for sure. And that takes time, right? So understanding this probably isn't going to be a 15-minute thing. Like it's going to take some time. And then another mistake I see people making is just hiring someone based on price, right? Like, choose a photographer that you like, that you get along with, that you like their photos. And, you're probably not going to hire Annie Leibovitz because that's going to cost $100,000. But there's someone locally in your area, if you feel like it's too expensive, just, it's part of your marketing budget and branding, be prepared to invest some money in this. I often think we just don't realize how much it's going to cost or value it and see the value.
If you take what you do, whatever the number, let's just be silly and say it was $1,000, right? Let's just be silly. Sky's the limit. Your Jennifer Lopez, $1,000 business portrait, right? And I'm just round numbers, whether that's high or low. If you think about how often you're going to use that for the next 2 or 3 years in everything, you are literally spending pennies on this. Pennies. And also you get to show up. Like I often think of back in the day, like I went virtual long before anybody else, because I was like, oh my gosh, even if my client was down the street, I'm like, everything's on my computer. I can just hit a button and go to the next appointment instead of including travel time and waiting for them to come out of their office and blah, blah, blah. Right. So what I realized was that, if you're utilizing these pictures, back in the day when I had to go to physical meetings, you have like, oh, I got to get dressed. I've got outside appointments today. I have to put on my suit, all this. You get to spend the time with a professional, make yourself look good for an hour or two, and then you can sustain that polished look for the next 3 years. Like it's done, it's frozen in time because you've got those pictures out there. Whereas if you're meeting somebody physically, you're like, oh my gosh, I didn't sleep last night, or that thing is still in the laundry, or it's raining and I look awful. I showed up trying to get business and I look like a wet dog. So you are you're being strategic about your best foot forward. And then you can use this like crazy for the next 2 years. So it really is quite an effective investment.
Right. And having a library of images too saves you so much time, because say, I'm on your podcast. You're like, hey, we need a photo of you. I can just go grab it and send it. I'm not like, oh, can someone take my picture? I'm going to try and take a selfie. Or the social media too. It's huge, right? You need tons of content for your social media. If you've just got these things planned out based on subjects you regularly talk about, for your blog, your social media, you just have them there and they look good and it's done, right? You don't have to think about it again.
I've even had to say to people, like we took, as I said in the beginning of the show, we took them off the cover. We had to, and then still we need their pictures for other things. Right. Yeah. And then I had to say to someone really nicely, could you please send me one without a baseball cap? Like, do you have any without a baseball cap? I'd appreciate that. And this is not a professional baseball coach. This is a entrepreneur with a thriving business. Could you please do anything without that cap? I would just find that fantastic. That would move this project along. Thank you. And my team went back and forth 3-4 times asking for pictures until I had to get involved. And I feel like saying, listen, I don't even know how to make this sound nicely in an email, but like, I don't get it. So stop hiding from it. It's just not something that you can keep putting off. It is everything. And also it really frustrates people like me. I'm not coming off good in this show, but if you don't know by now, I'm impatient. What it does is then you bring down the quality of my show. If I'm putting a cover out and you look like you just rolled in off the street and you don't even know how to spell the word business, like it brings down my brand. Like you talk about how pictures bring up a brochure. Well, then that's why we stop putting people on the cover, because you're making me look like I'm recording this in the bathroom and I've got all this expensive stuff that I've invested into this show, and you're bringing down the quality of that. So people don't want to be interacting with you if you make them look bad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I write for several magazines and I'm friends with some editors, and they've told me like one of the things we consider to let someone write for us is whether or not they have good pictures, or
Oh,
or like a feature, like, hey,
yeah.
I'm gonna have, you feature my, they send a press release. They're like, well, if they have bad pictures, we're not gonna publish them, right?
No. Yeah.
And that translates to a lot of, what you're trying to do to promote your business.
Yeah, it
So,
downgrades the quality. It's just like showing up to a business meeting
mhm,
wearing slippers or shoes with holes in them. Like,
right.
is that fair? Are they smart? Should we not be judging a book by its cover? Well, I'll tell you this, I have written a book, When the Hour, Win the Day. And now I know a lot of authors from going through that experience. And one thing we all say is, listen, if you say you shouldn't judge a book by its cover, you clearly never tried to sell a book.
Right, right.
so
Or bought a book, right?
yeah. So that's how it is. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
So I hope you guys got something out of this other than going, I'm tired of listening to Chris rant, but I'm so passionate about this because I see people totally get in their own way and really bring down the amount of opportunity that they have because they're putting these hackshot images out there. And it's damaging beyond what you guys understand, because nobody's even going to tell you what that picture makes them feel like. They just assume their decision is right. Like, oh,
Yep.
I thought she was really experienced. Oh, I think she's just starting out because look at her stuff. Look at her images. Look how she's showing up. So no one's going to clarify that with you. They just make that decision, move on. Like you said about the magazine, they're not going to say, had you had a better picture, we would have let you write an article. No, they just make a decision and they move on.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
People are losing business. I have this one story. So I
tried to squeeze it in, Tanya.
Yeah. Okay. When I first started my business, I was looking for a business coach and someone recommended this coach. So I go to his website or his LinkedIn and his photo looked like a mugshot. Seriously. Like I looked at him as like, I feel fear. Like I'm conscious of this stuff.
Yeah.
So I knew like from his picture, I felt all these feelings. So I didn't contact him. And then through the next few months, several of my friends were like, oh yeah, I use this guy for my coach. And I was like, really? So after like 8 people said they loved this guy as their coach, I finally called him. But imagine how much business he was potentially losing, or how much sooner he would have had me as a client if I went. I was like, oh, this guy looks professional. I'm interested. So, and he doesn't even know that was happening. I actually brought it up to him later. I was like, hey, you should get a better picture because this is what is happening because of this photo. And
you might have spent
I don't need to spend money on
him.
that. It's not important,
Oh,
but he did.
Sorry, I cut you off. Sorry. He said it wasn't important.
Well, yeah, he was like, a lot of people are like, oh, I don't need to spend money on a picture. Like it's not driving my boat forward or whatever, but it really is holding you back. So yeah, I guess if we accomplished anything from this today is, hey, it's important to get a professional photo.
And I'm so sorry. I am usually better than this, but this makes me crazy because I just don't understand it. And I think what your point was, he could have had 6 months more of income from you because you would have been there 6 months earlier. And then imagine if during that time you gave him another referral or two, right? So that's, that's money there, people. Yeah. So yes, I do apologize publicly and officially to Tanya. I talked all over her, but this makes me crazy because it really does. Like I said, it causes problems. And when I've done usually we ask for, your bio and stuff up front before the show, but I, in the beginning, I would give people the benefit of the doubt and I'd say, oh my gosh, that's a bad picture. So then I'd say to them, if they show up like, listen, you're a great guest and this is awesome, but I do want to make sure I've looked at your bio and I do need a better picture. Oh, no problem. I'll send you one. And then you just get equally bad one. I'm like, well, now what am I going to do? Do I not air this? Like and it just gets to a point where I don't know how to say, listen, sir, you need to take that wife beater t-shirt off and send me something better. Right. So anyhow, I digress. I ranted enough. She is really smart. Check her out online. Maybe listen to her on another podcast where she gets to talk more, but in fairness, I am agreeing with everything you're saying passionately. So I am a fan. I believe in your mission. Yes. Oh my heavens. Okay. Where can people find more of your brilliance, Tanya?
Yeah, so workstorycreative.com. And if you want to grab that download of the 100 ways, which I should add Zoom profile, that was a good idea.
Thank you.
That's at workstorycreative.com /100 ways. So 100 ways.
Okay. And we'll make sure to put that in the show notes.
Okay, perfect.
All right, Tanya, you are spectacular. Thank you so much. I'm so glad we connected. And everyone else, we will see you in the next episode.
Thank you.